Hey everyone, welcome in this new video. In today's video, I will teach you how to play chess. Now, I hope you all enjoy. So, first of all, we have the king. This, chess piece can move in a cube, to put it simply. And that is also its attack range. It doesn't have any outstanding abilities. For instance, if here is a pawn, for instance, like here, you can just take it like this. One thing though, if there is, however, a rook behind it, let's take a rook for instance, and the rook can move like here, here, and here, you can't take it because if you take it, yeah, there's checkmate, and that is not what we want, and that is also what the game forbids you. So yeah, next up, as I said, we have the rook. And the rook, that is a pretty powerful chess piece. It can move like here, here, and here. One special thing that the rook has is castle, and I will show you in a minute what that is. Because now people are like, what? Is that serious? Yes, that is serious. Anyway, next up we have the bishop. And the bishop is also pretty powerful. Here we have the bishop, and the bishop can move in the following diagonals. One thing though, the bishop cannot switch color. For instance, if this bishop is on the white square, it cannot switch to the black square. And if you have a black squared bishop, you cannot switch it to a white squared bishop. So remember that. And yeah, you can also place it, of course, here, here, here. At least you can move everywhere you want to go, but it must be in a diagonal, else you can't move it. Next up, we have the knight, and the knight is also a very special chess piece. It can move as followed. Yeah, this one is messed up. This one is already pretty difficult to find out. So you can see it can move practically in an L form. That's the most easy way to remember this one. And another special thing is that if, for instance, here is a rook, and here is, for instance, a other enemy, like let's say that there is like a bishop here. Practically what the knight can do is it can hop over this piece and attack the bishop. That's pretty cool, right? This also means that, yeah, the most common forks are made by knights. They are mostly made by knights. So these are pretty powerful chess pieces. They are worth less than bishops, though. They are worth less. But that actually also depends on the situation that I will go over that later, because I don't feel like explaining that right now. But the knight, it can hop over to chess pieces, allowing it to be sent in the battle immediately, right from the start. So remember that. This is a piece that you can develop early on. Though I always recommend to move the pawns first, and that is the next chess piece that I'm gonna talk about. This one is pretty easy. Here we have the pawn, and officially we start here with the pawn. The pawn doesn't have any outstanding abilities, except for that it can move on turn 1 2 squares instead of 1 square. However, after you move the 2 squares, and you can only do this at the beginning, like if it's still here, you can move it to 2 squares forward. Did you move it like this? You cannot move it anymore to 2 squares. That's the rules. Another rule about the pawn is very simple, that is en passant, and that is as followed. When here is, for instance, a black pawn, it's an enemy pawn, and you move here, yeah, this person can do en passant and go this, and your pawn will be gone. Remember that. This can be good for you, but it can also be bad for you. However, mostly it's a terrible move. It's just naturally a terrible move to do. Don't do 2 squares at the beginning of the game if there is an enemy pawn here. Remember that. Now, pawns can only go straight forward and they cannot move back. So remember that. Pawns are very good in defense, but it can also be an offense chess piece. That depends on how you play it, but keep in mind that you should not overextend with pawns. Only in certain openings it's good. But yeah, that is practically it. The pawn is a pretty easy chess piece to control. And now we're going over to the last chess piece, which is the queen. Unlike the bishop that can't switch colors, sorry, I made a mistake right there. This one can, and the reason this one can switch square is very simple. It's because it can move different than a bishop. Because this one, which is the queen, can move in all these directions. In all these black pawns here, the queen can move. And you don't want to face this chess piece because it's just too awful. Yeah. It's practically a king mixed with a rook and a bishop. Or actually, it's more like a bishop mixed with a rook. That's how simple it is. If you lose this chess piece, it will be very bad for your army, so do not develop this one immediately early on the game. Because it can move very powerful, it can move here, it can move there, 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 and it can move there. Yeah. This is just practically the most powerful chess piece we have on the battlefield. And you do not want to lose it immediately. So be aware when you place this chess piece in the battlefield, because yeah, most people, they forget about the bishop, and what happens then is this, and you don't want this, right? You don't want to lose your powerful queen like this, and yeah, you're done for. You just resign because you don't have any options. So yeah. Next up is the board setup. How should you set up the chessboard if you want to play against someone? I will show it as followed. Okay, now pawns go first, and they get placed here. Now, then we start with the rooks. The rooks are always on the left and the right side of the board. The knights, they are placed here and here, next to the rook. And after the knight, the bishop comes. And then you might say, but what about the king and the queen? Well, an easy way to remember this is queen has black shoes, king has white shoes. That's the most easy way, for me at least, to remember. And this is how you set up the chessboard for black. This is how we set up the board for white. And it doesn't mean to be different. It's just queen is matched with queen. And the pawns, they are placed on the same spot as usual. Nothing outstanding. Rooks are placed on the left side and right side. Knights come in then on the second square. Bishop, bishop, king, rook, and the last two pawns. That is practically it. And there isn't anything outstanding now to explain, but I do like to teach you some techniques that you need to be very aware of. Okay, let's say we play e4 and let's say that our opponent plays something this. And you place your knight here, let's say that. You place your knight here because it can hop over pieces, that's how simple it is. All the other pieces, guys, cannot do that, remember that. And let's say that the opponent now plays this. Now, if we move our knight, let's say we move it now here, they can take your queen, and we don't want that. So, how do you respond to this? If you set, like, bishop e2, you're correct, because this unpins the knight, because this is officially a pin, because you will lose your powerful queen, which you don't want. So, yeah. Be aware of these things, guys, because these are the most common things to happen in a certain game. And you want to avoid that at all costs, because if you don't, you will just lose the battle. That's how simple it is, and you don't want that. Now that was practically my guide to chess. I am not really gonna teach you an opening here. That's up to you to discover, and that's in another part of my video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun with this. I hope you have learned something from this. And yeah, I will see you in the next episode. Maybe I'm gonna make chess videos tomorrow. I don't know. I will see you later on then. But yeah, have a nice day, everyone. Goodbye.